Hello, everybody, and welcome to What Up Sports and the Nation. Hey, we have a few special guests with us today. We have Tony Gomes and as you guys know Tony, so sorry, Tony Saddleback coach, going to be going pro hopefully soon. We're going to try and find that out today. What else? Oh, yeah, one of my favorite ball players in the world, Riley Donovan,
Mhm.
formerly of College of San Mateo, Southern Oregon, NAIA Player of the Year two times and two-time national champion, and NAIA World Series MVP. Did I get that right?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe so. Although I think you might have said that I was the NAIA Player of the Year twice. It was only once.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. But other than that, I think it was great.
Cool. Dang, I was close. I was close. So, I did want to bring up something from the last few weeks that I've been noticing. In college ball and in college softball, baseball and softball. Have you guys noticed the freshman production? I've been kind of paying a close attention to the freshman production just because it keeps popping up in my feeds. And I'm seeing freshmen batting over 500. I'm seeing doubles, triples, home runs. And the freshmen, this class of graduating class of 2024, high school in the class of 2028, college seems to be thriving. It's probably one of the best classes that I've seen in, I don't know, 20 years that I've been watching softball, 30 years that I've been watching college softball and college baseball as well. What do you guys think about that?
Go ahead, Riley. You can go first.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen from what I've seen, it seems like just everybody is competing at a different level. But I haven't particularly noticed like freshmen specifically. Sorry, I got jogs going crazy in the background right now. Um, But I just feel like the level of play is rising and which is super exciting to see, specifically in softball. That's what I'm watching most of the time. And I think the game is just growing overall, and that's super exciting to see, I think.
I agree. Tony, what about you, my friend?
I just think the kids are, they're all having, hitting coaches earlier. I think, just the technique of the swing and the mechanics of approach and those types of things. I just think kids are learning it at an earlier age now. And, they're more prepared through high school. And I think they're more ready to play when their freshman year, and especially if they're going to big schools. I mean, obviously you're not recruited by a big school unless you can play, and obviously they have confidence all through high school. So I don't see any reason why. It's usually the sophomores that have the sophomore jinx. So the freshmen come in. That doesn't surprise me. I'm all for them coming in hot, and hopefully they can maintain it and not try to do more than they did the year before, because that's usually where they guys struggle.
Yeah, exactly. Pressing themselves too much, getting in their head a little bit too much. Yeah,
For
we've
sure.
seen that a time or two, haven't we? Also, all the grand slams. I mean, it's ridiculous, all the grand slams that I'm seeing. Again, I got to go back to, I don't think I've ever seen so many grand slams between baseball and softball and watching everything and listening and seeing. And they're not these little, dinkers out. They're freaking 450, 325 softball. I mean, they're getting crushed. Um, and I'm go back to what you said, Tony. I mean, they are definitely getting themselves prepared a lot earlier. It's kind of cool to see. It's kind of fun to watch. Hopefully, this is a transgression or of them keep going up and up and up over the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years, just watching the athleticism.
I
Anyway,
really love to hear Riley's perspective of this, but as a hitting coach, what you're seeing is you're seeing a lot of home run production, but the batting averages for me, I see kind of declining because the backspin theory in baseball, launch angle, exit velo, all of this stuff is really what's happening. The home runs don't surprise me. I'd like to see the averages stay up, but as a coach, I'm teaching my guys to backspin the baseball. That's what everybody wants to see. I really love to hear, Riley's approach to hitting the ball, and what she's being taught and those types of things. I'm pretty interested in what's the difference between baseball and the softball approach to hitting the ball.
Yeah, I feel like that's so interesting because I have come across a few different teams where the coaches teach the launch angle stuff. I'm not super I mean, I know what it is. I don't know the ins and outs of it because I've never been taught that way. Um, the way I've always been taught has you're always going for a line drive, and a home run is a happy mistake, right? Because to me, and the kind type of hitter I was and am, um, if I ever focused too hard on launching it up and high and as far as I could go, it was going straight in the air. And the process of that, it personally, like looking at, yeah, everybody loves a home run, but at the end of the day, what's gonna produce wins the most is line drives and chipping away. And that's how I coach when I am coaching other players. And it's how I like to believe, or that's my ideology, is how I should say it.
Yeah, your average was always up there. I mean, you always batted 400 plus. I don't remember what you ended up your senior year at SOU with. Do you remember?
I can't say for sure. I want to say it was like maybe 450 potentially. Don't quote me on that. I always made a point to not look at my stats for
Yeah,
yeah, the lots of reasons, but I think it was somewhere in mid 400s.
nice. That a girl. I know you never looked at your stats. That's what I was so impressed with. Hey, what are you doing? What's going on, Riley? I don't know. I'm just hitting the ball, coach. All right. Beautiful.
Well,
Let's
if
do
I
it.
did, I mean, it truly like whether it was good or bad, like if somebody told me my stats, it really messed with my head and I and it was something I could try to deal with or like try and continue to look at and deal with or ignore. And that's where I would find success is ignoring it. And some people it motivates them, but for me if it was lower than I wanted, it freaked me out, and then if it was higher, then that kind of freaked me out because I had to maintain that. And I don't know, something about it just psychologically messed with me.
I got you.
Can I ask a question about that? Because um, I'm always interested in when people get into zones and finding themselves in a position of, like you said, you don't worry about the stats and all that stuff, but is it like when you went to the plate, did you have a ritual or a superstition, or is there anything you did to get yourself into a zone when you went to the plate that could actually tip people off? Because you, as a coach, probably have some kids that get into zones or in and out of zones, or and Coach Gomes might even have this thought too as well. But you know, when I played the best is like the machine, like that. What was that movie with Kevin Costner? He was pitching a perfect game, and he's like, I turned off the machine, and he didn't hear anything, and it was just him and the catcher.
Perfect game.
For the
And
love of the
that's yeah, the for love of the game. And my thought was like, when I was at my best, I found myself in a zone and I couldn't hear anything and there was no sound and stuff like that. So Riley, first, did you have that when you went to the plate? Did there was anything that helped you get into that? And then same with you, Coach Gomes. Like, have you taught that, and has that been in your play and your past and things like that?
Yeah, well, my routine, I feel like I definitely it evolved over time. I mean, for me, like um I was an anxious player. I could get in my head a lot. And I grew a ton over the years. And I would go into these slumps, and it was always me, especially as being a catcher. I think a lot of, I mean, I think everybody does this, but I think specifically as a catcher, you have an inside view to what it's like as a pitcher and like coaches pitch calling. So when I would get into a slump, it was always because I was overthinking in the box and like trying to guess what the pitcher was going to be throwing to me. And when I played best was when all I said in my head was get something you like. Because for me, I was pretty, I didn't have a preference between inside or outside, high or low. I pretty much liked everything. Um, Oftentimes things that weren't even close to the plate, which was so silly, but I mean, I always managed to figure it out. Um, so I couldn't say, like, for some people, it's okay, outside pitch, inside pitch. They're looking for one specific spot until they get 2 strikes. But for me, it was just something you like. That was the only thing I was repeating into my head. And my other routines, like I had to pat my chest. And people always asked me about that. Like my whole routine was very specific. I had this like, I would, tap the plate and I would do like a squat. And then there would be these old men in the stands that were like longtime softball fans of SOU. And like there was a game where I had a horrible game. And I remember them literally saying, her squat's different. Her squat, like she that's different. She's not on it today. And it was like, okay, so people definitely picked up on my routine. But that was super necessary for myself and my success.
I love that. Hey, Coach Combs, what do you got on that?
Well, my success came by playing wiffle ball against my dad in the backyard. He threw the nastiest pitches I've ever seen in my life. So, and I could always hit him. So I had confidence extremely young. I all through Little League, ever since I hit my first home run in Little League and then, took off from there, I always hit well. So it never, I'm in Riley's perspective there where I wasn't, if I saw the ball well and I was on time, I was going. I wasn't, I just was like, where's the ball at? Where's the ball at? I wasn't thinking fastball. I wasn't thinking slider. I wasn't thinking planned approach. It was just like, if I saw it good, I was going. I felt my eye hand coordination was great ever since I was a child. And so hitting for me was easy because I had confidence all through my baseball career. Never really had, those moments where it's like, man, I am struggling right now. I'm in a slump. That thought process never even crossed my mind. So, and again, I wasn't the big stat guy, I wasn't sitting there, but it's funny that Riley said she hit mid 450s because I think my sophomore year, I was a 454, 10th in the state hitter guy. And, that all American things that they hand you and all those beautiful honors and are all great. But, teaching somebody how to have that is what I try to tap into is I want my guys to be extremely confident and like, you prepared, you hit everything that, we do in the cage, you do every drill we do, just trust your approach and trust what you see in the batter's box and try to simplify it as much as possible. It's already hard. Do the best you can to simplify it.
I'm going to add to that too, because some of the things you guys said, but also I know when I played, things slowed down. I could see the hole in such a slow motion that I was on top of it to go and tackle somebody because I could see it. When everything slowed down, that was big. And I know that there's a lot of talk in softball and baseball about I see the ball better, right? And so as an athlete, you see the ball better, you know that you hit that zone. But on the coach's side, for all three of you guys, because you guys all coach too, do you notice that when you've got a player like that, and do you focus in that you got a player that's hit a zone and you're kind of coaching yourself that way around it as well?
For me, coaching a player like that, I want to pick their brain. And the reason why I want to pick their brain is I want to know what their thought process is, and I want to know what they're thinking, what they're seeing, how they're seeing, because that'll help me fine tune things that I see. I used to have a knack where I could slow a swing down so well that I could see what the barrel was doing at any given time. I just happened to have that ability back then. Not anymore, that's gone. Um, and with that being said, if I knew that they were in a slump, I knew what their barrel was doing and their lower half was doing at the same time. If they were hitting the ball good, I wanted to know what they were seeing and how they were feeling, what their body was feeling. What are you seeing with that ball coming in? Are you seeing seams or are you seeing those little dirt dots? And I know that sounds silly, but Riley would tell me all the time, "Oh, I'm seeing the seams. I'm seeing the seams." They didn't have dirt at their field. So, and I use that as an example because you could go almost 6 inches outside of the plate and 6 inches inside for her when she was hitting. And I always took that into account working with her. It was always great, always a lot of fun. And for me, that's what I would do with other ball players as well. I just use Riley as an example.
All right, Coach Combs, what do you got?
I just when I got a guy who's just red hot and in the zone, I'm more of the leave him alone guy. I'm not. I just keep going until you ask me a question or you want to do something. I just enjoy watching him play. I don't try to pick his brain. I think I know enough about the mechanics of swings and when guys are going good or bad and all that stuff. And getting the information from that young man, I'm just sitting back and enjoying watching him play. Those are fun moments, and I leave them alone. I spend most of my time with the guys that are struggling. I try to get them out of their funk. The guys that are going good, I put them in the lineup and go play. Have fun and watch them play.
And then Riley, I mean, you played most recently and you're coaching. How does that, like that same concept kind of translate for you?
Um, as far as a player, like I'm watching players as a coach, I would say the same thing. Like you just let them be unless they approach you. Um, because I know like even me, even if I had a good at bat, like I would still like want to talk about it. Because for me, it was always a good to keep the conversation going. If I stayed with it, it would just by myself. I always struggled. I needed to talk it out with usually with my sister because she was also my coach. Um, but I definitely agree. I think like when somebody's in a groove, like you let them be, and unless they approach you, and yeah.
Awesome. I love it. I love hearing your aspect on that too, Riley. And Tony, I love your aspect as well. I mean, there's some players you have to sit back and just let them go, you
Definitely.
know? Definitely. All right. Well, I want to wrap this portion up of the show. This is we were having a little bit of fun, just kind of BSing. Um, thank you all very much for joining us. Rob, thank you for coming. We greatly appreciate it. Anyway, folks, stay tuned for the next show. Be out in a few days, few weeks, never know. So have a good one, and what up?